Hello students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
How are you all?
Fine, sir.
Okay. So, how many students? 18 students, right? So, we'll wait till 11:15 and then we'll start the class. And please, Janto, pen to diasun? Pen. So, who are present till 11:15, they will get the attendance. Then I'll lock the meeting and I will not allow anyone to enter the class. So, let us take the attendance today. So, Rahul Borua, are you there? Kap Kaputara,
Yes, sir.
Kapu, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Today is 28th, right?
64, sir. 64.
64. Okay, okay. Kaputara. Then Nimesh 65. Line. Abhijit Borua 66.
Sir, 65 is present, sir.
60, 65.
Yes, sir.
I haven't seen. Yeah, he is present. Why he is not responding?
The network is not that good. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That. Abhijit Borua 66. 67. Kashi, you were there, right? 69.
69.
Julie, 70, 71, 72, 73,
73 present, sir.
Himal,
Present, sir.
okay. Then 74, Rakesh Chilpa,
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, okay, okay.
Yes, 74, sir.
74, Rakesh. And 75, Gayatri Apang, 76, Dodum Kipa, 77, Basanta Rasbongshi, 78, Pani Akash, 80, Jit Sonpal, 81, 81, 82, Bhuvan said
Present,
not
sir.
present.
82 present.
Yeah, yeah, I could see. Then Muden Rai 83, Boa Manju 84,
Present, sir. 84.
84 Boa.
Yeah. Present, sir.
Okay. 85 Dev Burma, Twar Dev Burma 85, 86 Liton, Liton you present? Liton is not present.
No, sir. 85.
Yeah, I heard someone saying 87, 88 Sakidul, 88 literal 88 Abu, 90 Nabum,
Sir, 88, Abu, sir. April.
literal okay. And Cyrus 89,
Present, sir. 89.
90, Rajesh Thakur 91, Lancy 92,
92%, sir.
93,
Yes, sir.
Rovila,
93 present.
Rovila, okay.
Yes, sir.
94, Ruben. 95, Tutatsu.
Present, sir.
95,
95.
94 present. Okay. So Ankur Terang present.
Yes, sir.
96, 97,
96.
97 Manish. 98 Debojit Momik.
Present, sir. 98.
Okay, Debojit. 100 Nifel.
Present, sir. Present.
102 Rajan Milan.
100 present, sir.
Oh yeah, fine. 102.
Okay, sir.
103 Bipesh. 105 Kasang. 107 Ajit Debarma. 110 Bansarel Lang. 110. 112.
Present, sir.
112 present. What's your name?
Visashityo.
Okay. 115. 116. 117 Xavier.
Yes, sir. Present.
Tatan Tanga 19. Sagar Dev Burma 21. 22 Freddy. Martin 23.
Yes, sir. Present. Martin present.
The class is only for section B, right? Kashi, you wrote some.
Yes, sir, but few section E going to.
Sorry.
I sent the link in the group and even section E are joining, so I'll just inform you.
But I'm taking classes only for section B, right? Because section A,
Yes.
it is not your timetable. You can sit. If you want, you can sit, but you will not get attendance for that. In section A, you have a class when you have the class on the certain time. That is Monday, 2 classes, and Friday, 1 classes. Then that is your time slot where you will get your attendance. Then your Martin, 123, 125. Martin, are you present?
Sir. Yes, sir. Present. Martin present.
Martin present. Okay. 25, 26, Tana Penki. 27, 127, Tana Nagatara. Sorry. Tana. Just write it. Roll number. What is your roll number? Roll number. Uh, 127 or 128 are present.
Present, sir. 128.
128 is present. Okay. If I miss someone's name, Sohel is present.
Yes, sir.
If I miss someone's name, then you can just tell me. But sometimes, suppose someone is trying to say something, there has been lot of interferences. So probably in that case, you have to write it down. Anyway, 129.
Sir.
Yeah.
115.
Yes. What? Write it down in the chat box. I'm not able to hear your voice. 130. 129.
130%, sir.
130 present. 131. 132. 135. 137.
Yes, sir. 137, sir.
Okay. 138. 139. 140.
Present, sir.
139 present.
139.
Okay. 140.
Yes, sir. 140, sir.
141. 142, 147,
Sir, 147 is present.
147 present.
Yes, sir. He's saying he's not able to hear you. The audio is not clear for him.
147, okay. 146, 146, 140, 152. Integrated MTech. Michael, are you present? Tashika Mara, are you present?
Sir Michael is
Yes,
present,
sir.
sir.
002.
Mi-
Present.
Michael is present. 002, Tashika.
Yes, sir. 002.
Okay, Michael is present, Tashika present. 003, Laisram.
Present, sir. Yes, sir. 003.
Laisram. And 005, Chosen.
Present, sir.
005, Chosen. Okay. So, Barney Debrama, I will just lock the meeting now.
77.
Huh?
77, sir.
77. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'll just...
Sir, 78.
Okay. 77. So literal entry or normal?
Normal.
2, sir.
Just wait a minute. One by one. Everyone will get that only. Don't worry.
Okay.
77.
Yes, sir.
Bokonto Rasbonki.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then next Pani Akash.
78, sir. Yes, sir.
Pani
Yes,
Akash.
sir.
Okay. Then or
76.
76. Dogum.
Sir, yes, sir. Dodum Kipa.
Okay. Then anyone else?
75,
2, sir.
75 Getty.
Yes, sir.
And
2, sir. 122.
sorry,
132, sir.
132 lateral entry.
No, sir. 22. 22.
22.
Yes. 120.
120 is
Sir.
not there.
Sir, 67.
Please don't talk in the background. 122 Freddy.
Sir.
Freddy, right? You just joined. Yeah, I saw you just joined. And
Sir, roll number 67.
67. What's your name? Badasara. Badasara, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can we start the meeting, our class now? And anyone left?
Sir, 070 also.
Sir, 094.
094.
Yes, sir.
93, 93, 93, and 94. Ruben.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ruben. Yeah. Then
Sir, 070 also.
what?
Joeli Devarma 070.
Joely de Burma. Actually, even your network is very problematic. Joely de Burma, Joely de 07. What's the roll number you said? Say 070.
Yes, sir. Her roll number is 070.
Okay. Anyone else left? Okay. So, Tashi, just check after the class. If anyone left, just you give me a message, okay? And I
Okay,
have
sir.
So I'm locking the class now, and I'll not allow anyone to join after this, and I have 39 students. So everyone, now you mute yourself, and I'll let me present, let me take the class, and after the class we'll have a discussion or interaction. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, kindly mute everyone and I'll start the presentation. Okay, can everyone see this content? Tashi, can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, welcome everyone to editing lecture series, and I'm going to take your class on CE703, which is Civil Engineering Planning. Now, please do not message me anyone. I'll give you a time because I will mute yourself and do not talk kappu tapa. And now we are going to take the formal class from today onwards. Now you see, is it working or it is not working? You can see the first one, right?
Yes, sir. We can see the first one. Okay.
Yes.
Introduction planning.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see how to change the. Okay, so you see, in this subject, we are going to learn about one of the most practical aspects of civil engineering, which is civil engineering planning. As an overview, the first unit comprises of the introductory lectures on this subject, and we'll learn about the basics. As we traverse through the details of the subject, you are expected to learn about the concept of planning of a building, what is the importance of ventilation, sunlight, drainage, water supply and planning of a building. But before that, we try to understand what are the concepts of 5 years of planning. Now, if you ask me what are the deliverables of the subject, that is, what are the feasible outcomes, then once you complete this subject successfully, what you are expected to know and understand, then the students, you will be enabled the student to plan and design a building according to existing bylaws. Now, what are bylaws? We'll learn about it in the second unit. To plan a building with proper ventilation, sunlight, drainage and water supply, and understand the importance of 5-year planning. The developmental plans that includes development of rural and urban areas are also included in this subject. Now this subject is purely application based with very little theory and mathematics, but there are certainly certain mathematics and applications are there. And as I discussed in the earlier classes, that this subject is more about common sense, which we have to apply with our engineering judgment. After you complete this module, this subject successfully, that means after you pass this subject with a good grade, I expect you to plan a building with adequate functionality. Now your functionality means the purpose or the intention for which the building is being designed for. That means if it is a residential building, the functionality will be to have adequate spaces for each and every component which are required for the residential building. Now,
Sir,
yes, Tashi,
Tani wants to be admitted again because of network. He got disconnected.
sorry, I did not get you.
Sir, lateral 147. He got disconnected and he's trying to rejoin, but he
Who?
needs to be admitted.
Who?
147. 147.
147. Bhuvan Seva.
No, sir. Tani Talon. Lateral 147.
147. What's the name? 147?
Tani Talon, sir.
Now is he admitted?
Tani Talon. Yes, sir. He's admitted.
Okay. I will not allow other twos, but Bhuvan Seva left and if he returns in time, then I will allow him to. So, before we go into detail that what is formally planning, then let me ask you one thing that that will be your elementary question you have in mind that what is planning. In fact, if we go a bit detail, then we must ask ourselves the most relevant question that what is the purpose of planning? I mean, we are all humans, right? And as a human, we plan everything. Apart from our birth and our death, we plan everything. When we were kids, when we were young, our parents plan for us that what school we should study and then which place we will move for better education and all. Then we plan for ourselves, right? That at what age I'm going to take a job or I will get married. And then finally, our even the course curriculum for you, the BTech students, it is planned. It has been planned by AITC, which is being adopted by ABP. Then there are certain things which they think that this is more important, so we have to put more focus on that. So if you observe closely, the development of the human race is being planned in fact. Now it's a very interesting choice of words. The developmental of human beings are planned. I would like you to think about this line that why I wrote this line. Let me not give it a thorough elaborate discussion on that, but just think yourself why I say that the development of human race is not a chance. It has two very minute incidences. It is shaped in a way that now we are Homo sapiens sapiens. So just try to understand and read the books and go through YouTube videos about the evolution of human race as a whole and see why I wrote this slide. So in fact, we need planning for everything. So These plans are altogether different for civil engineering planning. Let us try to understand how. So, you see, the word planning is extremely ambiguous and it is also difficult to define. There are so many planners. There are environmental planners, there are architects, there are building planners, then there are regional development planners, economics who plan for the economy, then statisticians who plan or who forecast that this is what going to happen. Because of that, planners of all kinds, they think they know what it means, and it refers to the word they do. The difficulty is that they do all sorts of different things, and so they mean different things by the word. Planning seems to be all things to all people. So, if we go to a dictionary and we see that even for a dictionary, the confusion is even more compounded. So if you go to an Oxford English Dictionary or American Webster's Dictionary, you find that the noun plan and the verb to plan have several distinct meanings. Please mark the word distinct here. That means which is clearly different from one another. In particular, the noun can either mean a physical representation of something, or the for example, drawing a map, that is planning, or it can mean a method of doing something, or an orderly arrangement of parts of an objective. So these are very simple things. If you just see yourself, you'll understand. The first meaning in particular is quite different from the other. For example, when we talk about a street plan in London and New York, we mean something quite different from when we talk about our plan to visit London or New York next year. The layout of a street plan and holiday visit, the plan to holiday visit has completely different meaning. A street plan, a street light plan will have different purpose than your plan to visit a particular tourist holiday. But still you are using the word planning in the same context. However, one definition is there, which combines other and blurs the distinction as when we talk about the plan for a new building. That means this simultaneously a physical design of a building as it is intended to be and to guide to realizing our intention to build it. What I mean that when I say we have to make a plan for a building, now the sentence is not ambiguous, it is very, very specific, and it means only one particular meaning, which is that we have to plan a building. Now that planning process involves that we have to, this is simultaneously a physical design of the building as it is intended to be. That is, if it is an educational building, the planning is for an educational building. And if it is a residential building, the planning is for a residential building. And a guide to realizing our intention. And it also involves the steps through which we are going to realize or through which we are going to implement the construction. That first I have a soil testing done. From the soil testing, I can know what are the forces for which the foundations should be built. At the same time, I will have the design for which I will calculate the structural forces, for which I will calculate the life loads, for which I will calculate the number of reinforcement. Those when we combine together, we have the steps of construction. That first I am going to build my foundation. Building design does not start with construction of your roof and then it comes downward. It always goes from foundation to the roof. It's not like that you just construct the doors and windows and then you put on the frame. No, you don't do that. We first construct the structure, the skeleton, then we construct the walls, we put the frames of the walls and windows, and then we put the doors and windows and other ventilations. So you see there is a sequence, a logical, rational, and everywhere universally accepted sequence of planning a building. That is why I that is why it is important that please do not talk yourself with your mobile. That is why it is very important that to understand how the plan of a building is different than other plans. When we talk about planning in this lecture, we invariably refer to planning of a building. But building planning requires extensive knowledge on its built-up environment. That means where the building is being built and what is the intended functionality. In this regard, we must consider intrinsic effects. Intrinsic means which are closely interconnected, which are very within the system. Intrinsic effects of the climate, topography, and habitats on the proposed model. This is very important lesson that we must understand what is the effect of climate, what is the effect of topography, and what is the effect of habitat on the proposed model which you are going to plan. But at the same time, all those effects are interconnected and intrinsic, that is within the system. So, for example, when we plan a residential building, the functionality will invariably be different than that of a commercial building. A commercial building will not have a provision, or even if it has a provision for a kitchen, that will not be same as your residential building. The load distribution will be different because the sizes of the spaces will be different. A commercial building might have spaces 20 feet by 20 feet. In your own residential building, generally you follow 15 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, this kind of regulation. Just give me a second. Similarly, an educational building like the one we have in ADTU is completely different than a cinema complex, and so on. We need to plan for the first place itself. We have to understand what is the purpose, what is the intention, what is the functionality. Likewise, a building which will be built on a hilly region is different than a coastal building. We must consider all the above aspects, that is effect of climate, topography, and habitats in the first place. It's not like that once we build a building and then we take this consideration and take remedial measures. No, we simply can't do that. That will be something that will be like a devastation for everyone. But what we need to do, we have to consider which place I am building. I am planning the building. Suppose I am planning a building for a coastal region. Then obviously my thinking is that I need a structure which can extend the periodic tides which is going to hit it. If I'm planning a building for a hilly region, I must consider the possibility of landslides. If there is a risk of landslide in that particular region. And those are the things which we must consider before we start our design. So when we talk about climate, it covers a very wide spectrum of topics. As a simplest of example, if I am to give you, when we plan a building in a subtropical climate, the main concern is your humidity, like Guwahati or Kolkata, where we have very high 60% and above humidity almost throughout the year, where we need proper ventilation and cross circulation of air throughout. On the other hand, if I am planning a building for Gujarat and Rajasthan, where temperatures may soar up to 48 degrees during summer, the scorching heat You just cannot have ventilation that will allow loose to come in. So you know loose are the hot air that circulated throughout the North India and call it loose. And if you have lots of ventilation, what is going to happen? The loo will come inside your house and it will have an oven-like feeling. It will have an oven-like effect on your whole thing, because that is something you must prevent, and that is why the houses in those areas like the Rajasthan or MP or the Gujarat certain parts, what they have less ventilation so as not to allow you to come inside. At the same time, they fall to sub-freezing to temperature, subzero temperature, which is freezing during your winter season. Even in Roorkee, where I did my master's and PhD from, the temperature variation was so high that during the summertime, I myself had witnessed temperature 47 and 48 degrees very frequently. At the same time, in the January, in the late December, early January, the temperature goes into single digit, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and it just simply it's so difficult to cope up with that temperature variation. So your breathing must turn those kind of variation as well. If you provide lots of ventilation, what will happen in the during the summer period? The whole building will have an oven-like effect because of the cross circulation of your hot air. In the winter, you allow lot of freezing water or the heat will go out and you have lots of freezing effect. We must keep an account of the prevailing natural hazards like your earthquakes, landslides, flood, forest fire, high tides, etc. while planning and designing a building in a particular area. Those are the ideas which we must understand even before we start designing. Now, what is topography? Topography of an area refers to an arrangement of its natural and artificial physical features, which we often interpret in terms of contour maps. I'm sure all of you have gone through contour maps. You know what is contour maps, and in your sixth semester itself, you have done a survey lab, so you know what is topography. So let's see how topography gives us an idea about how it affects my planning of a building in a certain area. Topography gives me a contour map that will give me idea about the elevation profile, drainage, and
Sir,
aspect. Yes,
another one got disconnected.
I'm not getting it,
Metro,
Tashi. Tashi, I'm not
sir,
getting
someone got disconnected again. 140.
140. Is he trying to get in?
Yes, sir. He's not able to get in.
Whose name is there? 140?
Ritu Raj.
No, he was absent beforehand. I will not allow him to get in.
Oh, it was there, sir.
No, no.
He sent me a screenshot of the class we were attending.
Birju
Through the
Jamatia.
study.
Birju Jamatia.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ritu Raj 140.
But he's not shown in the lobby, you know. He's not shown here. Only Manish Das
I
is
don't know
waiting.
where he's saying suddenly my network is gone and he's unable to
Tashi just Tashi
contact
just
me.
WhatsApp me. I'm not I'm taking the class. Don't interrupt now. WhatsApp me if you have any problem. So do not interrupt me when I'm taking the class. Okay? You can just give me a message later on, or just give me the writing in the chat. I'm keeping the chat box open, so just do not interrupt. It will be difficult for me to get the further. Anyway, see the when it gives us an idea about the elevation profile, drainage, and aspect. Aspect means the direction, and it is very important when we move to our unit 3 where we talk about the orientation and prospect and aspect, and we learn how it is very important for us to take a consideration of the aspect of a particular area. Uh, We use topographic maps extensively for designing different water supply and drainage systems. is common sense you understand. The surface topography also plays a vital role in planning of ventilation system of a building. That is, of course, you have to understand how and which direction the air is flowing. Moreover, if properly planned, it enhances the aesthetics of the property. The habitat of an area, including all living organisms, greatly influences the planning of the structure. Suppose we want to construct a highway through a national park like the Kaziranga National Park. In that case, we must consider the safety of the animals passing by, as well as to conserve the biodiversity of the area. That is another important point, that we have to consider not only people, that is us, human race. We have to, as a building planner or a civil planner, we have to understand how to conserve, and these are the important points that you try to that you always find it in the newspaper, that we need environmental clearance for a particular large scale projects to get implemented for. So those are the things which are very, very important, because without environment, we are not going to have sustainable development. Now, in this course, however, we are going to focus mainly on building planning. For building planning, habitat primarily refers to human beings, and more specifically, the economic criterion and functional intention of the building takes center stage here. Economic criterion, that means we have now low income group, middle income group, and high income group. So a building which you are going to plan for Ambani, that can have lots of different aspects, but the same aspects cannot be planned for me or for you. That is very important to understand. Also, we have rural, semi-urban, and urban habitats. The urban centers are governed by different bylaws. This is, well, it's a wrong mistake, bylaws of the building design. In rural and semi-urban areas, these bylaws are not strictly enforced. Hence, before we move to the building planning, it is that essential for us to have a basic understanding about developmental plans in India and their relevance in the planning. From the next class onwards, we are going to discuss about it. So I hope that this is very introductory class, and we have still 2 to 3 minutes left. So if you have any doubt regarding this class, you can ask me now. Any doubt? You can just unmute yourself and you can ask me a question. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me now. And someone just gave me a message that suddenly my network is gone. I'm unable to connect again. That is okay, that's fine. No fun, no doubt, sir. I am having network issues from Cyrus Scan. And did you enjoy the class? Someone is having a network problem. See, I was not. Someone gave me a message. I don't prefer students giving me messages on WhatsApp. Let's stop this habit. I don't know why you have been doing this so many times. Respect the privacy of your teachers. I do not want you to give me messages about your network issues. If you have certain network issues, get it in your SIA. Only your SIA will be is allowed to contact you. Whatever that is the purpose of your SIA. Do not personally give me this is your problem, that is your problem. At the end of my class, anyone who is having network issues, they get it forwarded to your CR. Your CR will tell me what is the issues and what not. I'm not going to entertain your personal messages on my WhatsApp number. That number is not for you to tell me that you have certain network issues or not. That is the job of your seer. Let her do the job and do not message me if you do not have any urgent issues. If you have certain urgent issues, I'm always free. So thank you again. Thank you very much. We'll meet in the next class. I will tell you here that I have your when I upload your attendance this class, and after that I'll allow you to give the feedback. Do not forget to give the feedback because only then your attendance will be marked present. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.